found a dead body in the forest while camping. It followed me home. My brother and I love going camping. If I had to tell you how much we've gone since we first learned to drive, you would probably find us strange. And that makes sense. Not many people enjoy going into random forests or up random hills and such, but we live west in North America, so there is lots of mountains and such. A hiker's dream and sometimes a camper's nightmare. That day was just the same as the others, loaded up on dehydrated fruit, is used to save space in bag and keep nutritional value, and set off into the more forest-heavy places near my town. Was going great. We hiked a few hours. Brother threw a rock at a snake even though I'm pretty sure it was poisonous, gathered some wild mushrooms. We've pretty much engraved the edible one's appearance into our brains, and set up camp. After a few hours we decided that staying in one spot wasn't very fun, so we headed off again for the next hours, taking our camping stuff with us further into the woods. Now here's where it goes downhill for the rest of this story. We went further and further into the countryside, talking, getting scared shitless by raccoons, snakes, etc. Then a terrible smell hits us. If I could describe it, you would be gagging along with me. We thought it could be a dead deer or moose. I don't think moose even live in America, so no clue how he figured that. He starts excitingly looking for it, using his shirt to cover his nose. He loves collecting antlers, and hunting, has a wall full of heads and antlers. I was never that into it. I've gone a couple of times, but it's usually too cold for me to continue by dusk. Anyway, I wasn't trailing behind him or anything. He's a grown man, but then he lets out the most ear-piercing scream ever. At first I thought it was another person he found and spooked, but then it hit me that it was him. I rushed over to him and saw him just standing there. There was a trash bag in front of him. It reeked, of course, but then I saw it fully using my flashlight. The bag was torn open, and I saw the body of a fairly young-looking girl, and I think the worst part that still is engraved into my sight. Her body was found by animals before we got there. Her face was missing eyes and some flesh in the face, not to the extent where I could see skull, but I could see muscle. Her chest cavity was open and had been eaten by who knows how many animals. We booked it to the nearest town using Google Maps. Then rented a hotel and called 911. The town didn't too long to get to, 2 hours max while walking. Didn't catch the name of it. But we could have give the officers enough locational info for them to know exactly. So we told them rough direction and landmarks. It really got us both. We stopped hiking, and he became eerily silent, and looked constantly scared. Now for the worst part. One day I decided to do a woodworking project to take it out of my mind. While I was going to the shed, I saw the same corpse clear as day, looking at me, upright. I froze and it quickly darted away as soon as I saw it. I then rushed to the spot where it was and saw nothing to indicate someone was there. I figured it a mind trick by my traumatized brain. Again, few days later I went out on my porch near the woods to smoke, and I saw a vaguely humanoid shape in the tree line, blinked, gone. Weeks later it happened again, this time at my window. This time though, it stayed for longer, 2 seconds longer, even when I moved. Then it darted out of view like a puppet with no arm strings, wood, all floppy and the like. Still wasn't convinced. I hadn't gotten any good sleep since then, so it could have been sleep deprivation for my sake. Then it kept happening, again and again, and I started getting scared of her, named her even. Emily was what she looked like to me. I was nervous and terrified even in my own house. Constantly checking the trees and the windows. Sometimes I was right, most times not. I don't want to tell my brother or anyone. He would freak out and word would eventually catch up to him anyway. And the worst one was only a week ago. This time it wasn't outside and it was at the middle of the night. I was going to go piss, not thinking to rent a hotel by that time. Then I froze, felt eyes on me as soon as I reached for the handle. Looked to my right and to my horror, She was standing, and it wasn't puppet-like. She looked like how a normal human would stand. No floppy arms. They were by her side casually. I blinked. She was still there. Again. She was gone, and it felt cold. I booked it to my car, and went to the nearest motel. My brother's house was closer, but I'm not telling him the body we found was haunting me. He would pass out. I've been in the hotel for now, and I won't be going back soon. I've got to tell him eventually, but it's not going to be today.